The 1982 World Rowing Championships were held in Switzerland in August. The venue for the championships was the beautiful Rotsee, just outside of Lucerne. Here you can see the course looking from the finish up to the start. On Saturday the 28th of August, the women's finals were held, and the men's finals were held on Sunday the 29th of August. The first event on the program is the women's coxed fours. The field has been narrowed to 6 finalists. In lane 1 at the top of the screen, Bulgaria. Lane 2, the USA. Lane 3, the Soviet Union. In lane 4 is the East German crew. Lane 5 is Holland, and lane 6, Romania. The Soviet Union crew won this event in 1981. The crews are held by starting blocks so that they're lined up quite in line, ready for the start. And there's a start in the women's cox 4 final of 1982. Lane 1 is Bulgaria, lane 2 USA, lane 3 the Soviet Union, and there in lane 4 is the East German crew. They're the Olympic champions. Lane 5 is Holland, and lane 6 Romania. The crews in the women's events race over 1,000 metres. There from the German Democratic Republic, making a good start, getting out from the rest of the field. We'll come back now and look at the rest of the field. The Soviet Union in lane 3 rowing an unusual boat. You'll see the coxswain sitting in the centre of the boat between the 2 pairs at either end. The Soviet Union crew first used this boat in 1980. Then in 1981 they won this event, and it's an unusual boat which has not caught on with any of the other nations. But already the Soviet Union has moved out in front of the other crews. In second place at this stage is the crew from East Germany in the white colours in lane 4. Doing well in lane 6 in the light blue, Romania. They were medalists in last year's championships. Cox Fours event is one which attracts girls of considerable size, especially the Soviet Union girls. They weigh about 90 kilos each. And there the crews are passing through the halfway mark, the 500-metre mark, and at that stage the Soviet Union are leading from the German Democratic Republic crew. In third place are the United States in lane 2. And there are the 500-metre times as they went through that mark. On the screen now is the Romanian crew, a tall, rangy crew, but they're lying back in about 4th position behind the crew from the Soviet Union over on the far side. Then in the centre of the course is the East German crew, maintaining its 3rd placing. And Romania is challenging the German crew for that 3rd placing. Out of view at the moment, and just coming into view now is the United States crew in lane 2. They'd be in 2nd place at this stage. Into the last 100 metres, and we can see the Soviet Union leading by about a length from the Romanian and United States crews. There won't be any catching of the Soviet Union crew, but it's close between the United States, Romania and East Germany for 2nd and 3rd place. The crew in on this side is the Romanian crew, sitting in 3rd place at the moment, just behind the United States crew, but the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics takes first from the USA, Romania, East Germany, Holland, and then bringing up the rear will be the crew from Bulgaria. And there are the final placings. First, the Soviet Union in a time of 3 minutes 17.16 seconds. Second, the United States, 3 minutes 19.55 seconds. Third, Romania, 3 minutes 19.71 seconds. The Soviet Union crew now rowing into the presentation staging to receive their World Championship gold medals. Svetlana Semenova, Valentina Semenova, Galina Stepanova and Larissa Zavasina were the world champions last year. The presentation of the gold medals to the Soviet Union crew will be made by Mr. Weil, the Vice President of the World Rowing Federation. As you can see, the Cox Fours is an event for big, powerful women. And of course the coxswain is the smallest person in the boat. She's there to steer the crew and to give the crew instructions and to be as light as possible. And the leader of the Russian delegation congratulating his victorious crew. On the start now are the 6 finalists in the women's double sculls. In lane 1 is Canada at the top of the screen. Lane 2, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Lane 3, Holland. Lane 4, Bulgaria. Lane 5, the USA. And at the bottom, from East Germany in lane 6. There's the start. All 6 crews away cleanly. There's the East German crew that last year were second in the World Championships. They'll throw out the challenge to the Russian crew in lane 2, who were the winners of last year's World Championships. The Americans in lane 5 have performed well in the heats, but might be a bit too weak for the stronger Eastern Bloc crews. Bulgaria fast starters in lane 4, Holland in lane 3, and there are the world champions in lane 2, the crew from the USSR. The umpire following the race to make sure the crews stay perfectly in their lanes, but there should be no difficulty on this beautifully marked course in Lucerne. The East German crew quick to start. This is the crew of Schroeter and Kirst, a very strong combination. The technique of the East German crews, particularly this double scull, is superb. There we see that the Russians have jumped out to an early start. Doing well early on are the Bulgarians. They're always fast to start, but often can't control the race after the first 500 metres. There's the 500-metre mark. The crew's just about to go through the 500-metre mark. And first through will be the crew from the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Second will be the East Germans. And the Bulgarians going through in third place. There are the times for the 500 metres. You can see that the Russians had opened up a huge lead of nearly 5 seconds. Well out in front of the rest of the field are the two Russian girls, Bratichko and Makina. Again, a big, strong combination from the Russian girls. Beautifully together and lots of power through the water. And they're enjoying a good look back on the rest of the field as they come now into the last 250 metres of this 1,000-metre race. In second place, the crew from East Germany, but no chance of catching the Russians as they come into the last 100 metres. Lying third now would be the crew from the USA, but a fast-finishing Canadian crew over in lane 1 will be the threat to the USA crew in lane 5. The Bulgarians, who are up with the leaders early on, have dropped well back in the field. Watch the race between the crews in lanes 5 and lane 1. That's the USA in lane 5, the Canadians over in lane 1. Very close between those two crews. Coming up to the finish line, we see a big win to the girls from Russia in lane 2, going across 2 lengths ahead of the East German combination. Very close now between the Canadians and the Americans. I think the Canadians just got it ahead of the Dutch girls and the Bulgarian crew. We'll have a look at the replay to see who got third place in the women's double sculls. Replay of the finish of the double sculls. There you see the Russians crossing the line. Nobody else in the picture at this stage. East Germany coming in second place. The Canadians are the crew at the top of the picture, and the Americans at the bottom. And it's just the Canadians by about 1.5 feet. So the Canadians taking out the bronze medal in the women's double sculls. And there are the official results. First, the Soviet Union, 3:19.47. Second, the German Democratic Republic, 3:23.05. Third, Canada, 3:26.49. Then followed the USA, Holland and Bulgaria. Coming in now to the medal presentation, the winning Soviet Union crew in the women's double sculls. Elena Bratichko in the bow seat. And in the stroke seat, Antonina Makina. So the Soviet Union taking out this event for the second year in the row. being presented by the Vice President of the World Rowing Federation, Dr. Hess, to Elena Bratichko and Antonina Makina of the Soviet Union, world champions for 1982. This event, at the start, is the women's coxless pairs. And at the start, in lane 1, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. In lane 2, Canada. Lane 3, Poland. Lane 4, the German Democratic Republic. Lane 5, Bulgaria. And lane 6, Holland. 6 finalists to contest this World Championship coxless pairs for women. Australia competed in this event, but were eliminated before the final. Last year in the World Championships, this event was won by the crew from the German Democratic Republic, but it's a different crew this year. And there's the start, and the East German crew in lane 4 is well away to a good start, as are the Canadians in lane 2. They were silver medalists last year. They were beaten by 0.2 of a second by East Germany in the 1981 Championships, and they're out for revenge this year. The Bulgarian crew were finalists last year. They're the crew in lane 5, and there are the fast-starting East Germans going away from the field. In lane 3 is the crew from Poland. This crew had great difficulty training this year and had financial difficulties finding training equipment, and they were helped out enormously by the Dutch crew who are rowing against them now in lane 6. We can see that already after 200 metres, the East German crew of Sylvia Frulich and Marita Sandig have opened up a big lead. They were hot favourites for this race after good showings in the heats and semi-finals. They're the Dutch crew in lane 6. Beaten by the Australians in earlier races, but they were ahead of the Australians when it came to the crunch at the World Championships. These crews racing over 1,000 metres, and they're just going through the 500-metre mark, coming up now as they go under the overhead wires. And first through the 500-metre mark is the East German crew in lane 4. Then the Russian crew doing well over in lane 1. They're in second place. Canada holding down third position at 500 metres. Then Poland, Holland and Bulgaria. Going across now to the top of the screen, we see the Russian crew holding on to second place, but the Canadians coming up alongside them, and also well placed are the Poles in lane 3. Not much between lanes 1, 2 and 3. There are the times for 500 metres. And Canada just moving ahead of the Soviet Union in this second half of the race. The Canadians are good finishers and managed to finish well in the heat to prevent Australia making its way through to the final in this event. But looking down on the crews now, we can see the East German crew in lane 4 has opened up a commanding lead. Beautifully together, stroked by Sylvia Frulich, many times gold medal winner in World Championships and Olympic Games. But look at the race that's on for second and third place between the Russian crew at the top of the screen, the Canadians next to them, and just below them is the Polish crew. Nothing between those three crews as they go through the boys. Maybe the Poles are just ahead of the Canadian crew, then the Russians, and the Bulgarians and Dutch have dropped out of the race. There's no chance of them getting a medal. Coming up towards the finish, no doubt about the leaders. They're out by about 1.5 lengths. The East German crew are going to take out this coxless pairs race. The Poles are moving up into second place, and I think the Canadians have moved ahead of the Russian crew for third place. There's the finish line, and it's East Germany across first, 1 length ahead of the Polish crew, a canvas back to the Canadian crew, then the Dutch and the Russians going across almost together, and then the Bulgarians fading away to 6th place. There's a shot of the winning East German crew. World Championship coxless pairs. And on the replay we can see the East Germans crossing 3/4 of a length ahead of the Polish girls, who surprised to take second place. They're nearly half a length back to the Canadians, last year's silver medalists. And the Russians just getting 4th place ahead of the Dutch crew, and a long way back to the Bulgarians. And the official results. First, German Democratic Republic, their time 3:32.41. Poland was second in 3 minutes 34.58, and Canada third, 3 minutes 35.93. And the East German pair, the winners of the World Championships for 1982, paddling into the presentation staging to collect their gold medals. Sylvia Fröhlich in the stroke seat and Marita Sandig in the bow seat. Quite a difference in size between these two girls. Fröhlich's a much taller, more solid girl than Sandig, but they certainly moved that pair well and won that event in a very fast time of 3 minutes 32 seconds.
Cérémonie pour le bonheur de la Fédération internationale des sociétés d'habitat. Dans cette discipline, les médailles sont remises par M. Beniosa, secrétaire général de la FIGA. Champion du monde, 1900...
And the girls looking as if it was quite a hard race as they wait for Denis Oswald, the Secretary General of the World Rowing Federation, to present them with their gold medals. Champions for 1982, Marita Sandig and Sylvia Fröhlich of East Germany. In the starters' hands now are the finalists for the World Championships for women's single sculls. 6 finalists. The top of the screen in lane 1 is New Zealand's Stephanie Foster. In lane 2, Great Britain's Beryl Mitchell. In lane 3, Julia Gear of the USA. In lane 4, the East German Sylvia Schwaber. In lane 5, the Romanian Rachila Roska. And in lane 6, from the Soviet Union, Fetisova. The interest will be to see who is the new world champion. The world champion for the last 3 years, Sandra Toma from Romania, was beaten in her national championships by Rachila Roska in lane 5. So this year we'll see a new world champion in women's single sculls. All scullers ready for the start. And there's a start. Schwaber away well in lane 4. She's the East German, a strong sculler, but there's been a false start. That bell indicates that somebody broke the start and the scullers will be recalled. The scullers now back in the starters' hands for the restart of the women's single sculls after that false start. In lane 1 is Stephanie Foster from New Zealand, and you'll see later that she's rowing the new type of single sculling boat. Most of the boats have fixed riggers and fixed foot stretchers, and the seat on which the scullers are sitting moves backwards and forwards, that giving the scullers the length in the water. But Stephanie is using the new form of boat in which the seat is fixed and the riggers and the stretcher move. It's a new development, and we'll see if it does any good for Stephanie Foster, who's in the final of the World Championship single sculls for the 2nd year in a row. She was 5th last year. The Australian girl Mary Renouf was eliminated in the heats and repecharges. She raced the small final in the morning and came 8th in the world. Now there's the start for first to 6th places. And a second false start. 2 false starts and you're eliminated. We're not sure who was awarded the false start this time or the time before. Well, back in the starters' hands for the third attempt to get the scullers away in the World Championship single sculls for women. There have been 2 false starts, and we can see that lane 5, Rachila Roska, has been awarded 1 false start against her. There's a red flag flying from her starting pontoon, indicating that she broke on one of the false starts. If she breaks again, she'll be disqualified. No doubt tension is high in the scullers. It's very easy to break a start, but the broken start will be picked up immediately by video cameras sitting on the bows of the boats. And there's another start. Roska from Romania in lane 5, away slowly this time, making sure she doesn't get another false start against her. Beryl Mitchell of Great Britain in lane 2 started particularly well, as did Sylvia Schwaber from East Germany in lane 4. There's Roska. She's making up that lost ground from a fairly slow start. And we come across now to Fetisova from the Soviet Union. She was 3rd in last year's World Championships, and she's had a very good start. She's rowing in lane 6, and the race could well develop into a battle between Fetisova and Rachila Roska from Romania. Fetisova probably the biggest and strongest girl in this race. The Romanian girl beside her is a very long, lean, lanky girl, and she'll throw out a challenge to this powerful Russian sculler. They've travelled about 250 metres now, and we can see that Fetisova and Roska are the 2 leading scullers. They're the scullers in lane 5 and 6. Roska, the Romanian, in the blue. There's the East German girl in the white singlet. That's Sylvia Schwaber. And Beryl Mitchell in the British colours over in lane 2. She was the silver medalist last year, and she's moved ahead of the East German Sylvia Schwaber. Beryl Mitchell, a high-rating, small sculler, and needs to row more strokes than the rest of the field to finish in front of them. Then in lane 1, dropping back at this stage, and there you see the sliding rigger, was Stephanie Foster of New Zealand, Julia Gear from the USA dropping behind the field. Have a look now at that sliding rigger scull of Stephanie Foster's. And there's the race for 3rd place at the moment between Sylvia Schwaber and Beryl Mitchell of Great Britain. Mitchell in lane 2, Schwaber in lane 4. Not much between those 2 scullers. Perhaps Mitchell a couple of metres ahead as they approach the 500-metre mark halfway through this 1,000-metre race. From that view, the Russian sculler in lane 6 is just out of view. She'd be up with the Romanian sculler next to her at the bottom of the screen. And then on the far side, you can see the East German sculler. No, the British sculler on the far side, and next to her, Stephanie Foster of New Zealand. There's Fetisova of the Soviet Union. At 500 metres gone, Romania was just ahead of the Soviet Union sculler. There's Rachila Roska, the long, lanky sculler from Romania. Not much between Romania and the Soviet Union. The 2 scullers at the bottom of the screen, and well up there also, but in 3rd place is Sylvia Schwaber. No, it's Beryl Mitchell in 3rd place in lane 2, and just behind her now, improving her position, is Stephanie Foster of New Zealand in the black colours at the top of the screen. She's moved up level with Schwaber, the East German, in the centre of the field, and the Russian girl is just ahead of the Romanian girl down on the bottom of the screen. There's nothing between those 2 scullers, and they've only got about 100 metres to go. There's the strong Russian, powerful, keeping the rate up, trying to hold off this determined Romanian sculler in lane 5. And over on the far side, a great race developing between Mitchell in lane 2, and at the very top of the screen, Stephanie Foster of New Zealand coming right up on Mitchell. So 2 good races coming up towards the finish. Nothing between the Russian and the Romanians. They cross the line. Stephanie Foster of New Zealand in third place, then Mitchell of Great Britain, then the East German sculler Schwaber and the USA sculler Gear. We will need to have a look at the replay to see who took out the gold medal in the women's single sculls. Fetisova of Russia in the red singlet and Roska of Romania in the blue. Nothing between these scullers. And it looks like Fetisova by just a bow ball. Very much a photo finish in that event. Have a look at it again. Yes, Fetisova, the Russian, just getting her bow to the line ahead of the Romanian. The new world champion, Stephanie Foster of New Zealand, a very strong last 500 metres to move in front of the British and East German scullers, and Stephanie Foster has taken out a bronze medal, the first medal in women's rowing for New Zealand. And there are the official results. First, Irina Fetisova of the Soviet Union, and with a margin of only 9/100ths of a second ahead of the Romanian sculler Rachila Roska, who was second in a time of 3:42.92, and third, and the bronze medal to Stephanie Foster of New Zealand, her time 3 minutes 44.61 seconds. And there's Irina Fetisova rowing up to the presentation staging to collect her gold medal for that narrowest of victories in the women's single sculls. And there we see an example of Fetisova's power through the water. That's in the last 200 metres when the pressure was really on from Roska next to her, and she looks as if she's just really applying the power in those final few strokes. And there on the presentation staging, you can see what a tough race it's been for this girl, pushed all the way by the Romanian sculler. Last year, Fetisova had to be content with the bronze medal behind the Romanian Sandra Toma and Beryl Mitchell. Toma did not race this year, and Mitchell has ended up fourth. And the gold medal for the women's single sculls World Championship of 1982 has been won by Irina Fetisova of the Soviet Union, the medal being presented by Tommy Keller, the president of the World Rowing Federation.
Union soviétique. Irina Fetisova.
Will go to Rachila Roska of Romania. There we see her in the last 200 metres of the race, trying to bridge the gap between herself and Fetisova. She led through the 500 metre mark and finished up only 9/100ths of a second from the gold medal. This tall, athletic Romanian Rachila Roska, silver medal in 1982. And so close to a gold medal. Great reception for Stephanie Foster from New Zealand, winning New Zealand's first medal ever in women's rowing, the bronze medal. And being congratulated by her coach, Ray Reid. In the starters' hands are the women's quad sculls. 4 scullers and a coxswain in each boat, and in lane 1, the East German crew, lane 2, Romania, lane 3, Denmark, lane 4, the USA, France is in lane 5, and the Soviet Union in lane 6. The Soviet Union are world champions, and 3 of their crew are back in this year's crew. There's a start in the Women's Quad Sculls World Championship of 1982. Of course, sculling boats, boats in which each oarsman or oarswoman has 2 sculls, as opposed to sweepboard boats where they have 1 only. And there you saw the catamaran from which this television coverage is being taken following the race. There's the Romanian crew in lane 2. And the Danish crew in lane 3. The USA is always strong in women's quad sculls, and they're in lane 4. France is in lane 5. And the World Championship crew from the Soviet Union in lane 6, and already they've opened up a good lead. Look at the beautiful precision in the blade work in this Soviet Union crew. But to top it off, they've got great power. There's a lot of horsepower in these Soviet oarswomen. The coxswain is lying down in the front of the boat. You can just see the coxswain's head behind the bow girl's back. She's steering the crew and giving them instructions over a speaker system in the boat. That's 500 metres gone, halfway through this race, and you can see the great lead that the Soviet Union crew has opened up. Romania is lying in second place, then the East German crew in lane 1, then we come back to the USA in lane 4, France in lane 5, and dropping back is Denmark in lane 3. But just in that 50 metres or so that we're watching, the East German crew over in lane 1 has just moved in front of the crew from Romania. They have their bow in front of the Romanian crew by about a canvas. Then the Americans have moved up to be clearly in 4th place, but some distance off the lead. There's the 500-metre times. The Soviet Union were through 500 metres ahead of the East German crew, then Romania. The Soviet Union is the crew in the bottom of the picture, and as they line up with the boys, their stern are on that line of boys. The stern's on the line of boys now, and you can see that they've opened up a lead of about 1.5 lengths over the East German crew on the far side. 4 girls in a quad scull can move a boat almost as fast as 8 girls in an 8. And there you get a good view across the course, and you can see the margin that the Soviet Union crew has opened up. East Germany now clearly in second place ahead of Romania. Romania are under some threat from the USA in lane 4, and then Denmark not far behind the USA. But no doubt about the leaders, they've gone out of the picture, the Soviet Union girls. There's the East German crew with the lead over the crew from the USA, who are improving their position all the time. Only about 50 metres left. There's the Soviet Union across the line, 2 lengths ahead of the crew from East Germany. Then another 2 lengths back to the crew from Romania, who finish in 3rd place ahead of USA, then Denmark, and bringing up the rear of the field will be the French crew. So another gold medal to the Soviet Union, this time in the women's quad sculls. Here's the replay of the finish. A big margin that the Soviet Union crew opened up in the first 500 metres. East Germany have come clearly into 2nd place. And then the crew crossing for 3rd is the crew from Romania. official results of the World Championships for women's quad sculls. Soviet Union first, 3 minutes 7.58. Second, the East German crew, 3 minutes 12.48. And third, Romania, 3 minutes 16.63. And as the rain continues to pour down in Lucerne, the victorious Soviet Union women's quad sculls rose towards the presentation staging to receive their trophies. World champions for the second year in a row, Larissa Popova, Elena Kloptseva, Olga Kaspina, Tatiana Bakhtova, and Maria Zemskova. And you can see that the good technique they had is equally matched by the power that these Russian girls obviously have. And the Soviet Union crew will be presented with their gold medals for the women's quad sculls by Dr. Hess, the Vice President of the World Rowing Federation.
Dans cette discipline, les médailles sont remises par le Français, vice-président de la FIS. Champion du monde 1982, 4 roweuses en couple avec un Union soviétique.
World champions for the second year in a row, Larissa Popova, Elena Kloptseva, Olga Kaspina, Tatiana Bakhtova, and the coxswain Maria Zemskova. And you can see by the expressions on their faces that despite the big margin that they had, these girls gave it all they had to get in front of the other crews. The last women's event on the program of the 1982 World Rowing Championships is the women's eights. 6 crews in the start. In lane 1, the USA, lane 2, Bulgaria, lane 3, Romania, lane 4, the German Democratic Republic, Canada are in lane 5, and the Soviet Union in lane 6. The crews ready for a start. And the starters sent them away. The world champions in this event, the Soviet Union, are in lane 6 at the bottom of the picture. That's the Soviet Union crew. Some big beefy girls in that crew, and they won the event last year. Canada in lane 5. The East Germans were the Olympic champions but failed to get a medal last year. Romania in lane 3 were the bronze medalists last year. There's Bulgaria in lane 2 and doing well at the top of the picture. In lane 1 is the USA crew, who were the silver medalists last year. Crew, very little change from last year, but the crew from the German Democratic Republic, with their rate well up, have moved out in front of Romania and Canada. This is being raced over 1,000 metres, and the girls have rowed about 350 metres at this stage. And we're coming on to the world champions now, and you can see that they've moved out into the lead. That's the Soviet Union crew, again with the rate well up, and they've moved out in front of the German Democratic Republic crew and the crew from the United States. Canada still holding on gamely. They'd be in fourth position as they go through the 500 metres in the centre of the course. The Soviet Union crew in on this side of the course, closest to the camera, and the United States crew on the far side of the course. United States throwing out a real challenge to the Soviet Union. A good race on for third place between the German Democratic Republic and Romania, and Canada not far out of it, with the Bulgarian crew dropping back. There are the Canadians trying to bridge the gap and to move into third place, but the German Democratic Republic holding on to third place at the moment, ahead of Romania and Canada. The Soviet Union, though, in the bottom of the picture, are clear leaders as they come down to the last 100 metres. In second place and under challenge now is the USA crew at the top of the picture. The German Democratic Republic crew challenging the Germans for the United States crew for second place, and Canada still well in there looking for a bronze medal. But no doubt about the leaders, the Soviet Union crew in the red singlets at the bottom of the picture are coming away with this women's eighth race. They're the world champions from last year and look set to take it out again. But what a good race for second and third place. There's the Soviet Union crossing the line. The United States takes second, and the German Democratic Republic has taken third place. The finish again, the Soviet Union crossing the line a good length ahead of the crew from the United States. United States clearly in second place by a third of a length. Then the German Democratic crew getting there just ahead of Romania and Canada to take the bronze medal. And the official results: first, the Soviet Union, 2 minutes 57.97 seconds. Second, the USA, 3 minutes 1.5 seconds. And third, the German Democratic Republic, 3 minutes 2.89 seconds.
Held earlier this year at Lake Lucerne in Switzerland. We'll begin with the men's cox fours and then see the double sculls, the coxless pairs, the single sculls, the cox pairs, the quad sculls, and finally the eights. Then I'll be back to present a basketball match from the 9th World Championships held in South America. But right now it's time for Heave 2 on Lake Lucerne.
The final day of the World Rowing Championships of 1982 being held in Lucerne, Switzerland. And this is the scene on the Rotsee Lake just out of Lucerne, and today the men's finals will take place. The first event on the program for the men's finals is the coxed fours, to be rowed over 2,000 metres. In this event, Australia was eliminated from the final 6 crews. They won the small final, placing them 7th in the world earlier this morning. And in the final we have, in lane 1, the German Democratic Republic, lane 2, Poland, USA in 3, Czechoslovakia in 4, the Soviet Union in 5, Great Britain in 6, and there's a start in the final of the 1982 World Champion coxed fours. All crews away well. There we see the Czechoslovakian crew in lane 4. And the Soviet Union crew in lane 5. And over in lane 1 is the crew from the German Democratic Republic. They've been impressive in their heats. They're the world champions. The German Democratic Republic have won this event every year since 1977. But pressure being applied from the crew from the Soviet Union in lane 5. And in lane 3, the crew in the Navy singlets is the crew from the USA, but doing well also in lane 4 is the Czechoslovakian crew in the red singlets and the blue shorts. There's the British crew in lane 6 dropping behind at this stage. Most of the crews having, in fact all the crews having the coxswain in the bow of the boat, lying down underneath the bow canvas. And we can just see the stern of the German Democratic Republic crew sitting in front of the other crews, even at this early stage of the race. Going through the 500 metres, doing well is Czechoslovakia in lane 4, the German Democratic Republic over in lane 1, and the Soviet Union crew in lane 5. The German Democratic Republic crew, their bow moving through the line of buoys just ahead of the other crews. And there are the differences between the crews as they went through the 500 metre mark with 1,500 metres to go. There's the slightest of tailwind blowing today on the Rotsee, about 1 metre per second. And this is a fast course. We can expect to see some fast times being produced by the winning crews. The crew dropping back at this stage is the Polish crew in lane 2, and Great Britain in lane 6 are dropping behind the other crews. Well up with the East German crew is the crew from Czechoslovakia in lane 4 and the Soviet Union crew in lane 5. The Soviet Union were third in last year's World Championships. Coming into view is the bow with the 3 on it. That's the USA boat. But they're well behind the 3 leading crews at the moment. The German Democratic Republic in the white. Czechoslovakia in the red in lane 4 in second place, and the Soviet Union in third place as they go through the 1,000 metre mark. Then came the USA, Great Britain improving their position, and Poland still sitting back in last position. This German Democratic Republic crew being stroked by Ulrich Diesner. He's been in every winning German Democratic Republic Cox 4 since 1977, and there are the margins at the 1,000 metre mark. USA boat with the 3 on their bow, trying to bridge the gap that the 3 leading crews have opened and to bring themselves into medal contention. Great Britain just behind them, and Poland still in last place. There's the British crew in the distinctive light blue boat, a carbon fibre boat made in Britain. Most of the other crews using Kevlar boats from West Germany, but the German Democratic Republic crew using their own German Democratic Republic boat and sitting in front of the field. Magnificent conditions and perfect precision from the German Democratic Republic crew over in lane 1. In this third 500 metres, the German Democratic Republic crew just moving that little bit further ahead of the Czechoslovakians and the Soviet Union crew, making it all the more difficult for those crews to catch them in the last 500. Coming up now to 500 metres to go. And the crews are into the last 500 metres. Still the 3 leading crews. The East German crew in lane 1, the Czechoslovakians performing well in lane 4. They've moved clearly ahead of the Soviet Union crew in 5. Then back to the USA and Great Britain. There are the times as they went through the 500 metre mark. And we can see with this overhead shot that the German Democratic Republic crew has moved away from the rest of the field. Czechoslovakia clearly in second place. And in third place still the Soviet Union. The East German crew have led from start to finish and now pouring on the power in the final 250 metres. The rate's gone up to about 37 strokes a minute, and they're holding off any challenge that's coming from the Czechoslovakians and the Soviet Union crew. the bow of the Czechoslovakian boat coming into view. And the East Germans holding about 3/4 of a length margin over the Czechoslovakians. Then the USA coming up to challenge the Soviet Union for third place. Back then to Great Britain and Poland. The USA throwing out a real challenge to the Soviet Union. But there's the finish line. East Germany over first by about a length, ahead of Czechoslovakia. And then third place is close. Very close for third place between the USA and the Soviet Union. In fifth position came Great Britain and then the Polish crew. We'll have to have a look at the replay to see who got the bronze medal in the World Championship Coxed Fours. But there are the gold medalists, the East Germans, and here they are coming across the line. A good margin to win the first event on today's program. A length ahead of Czechoslovakia in second place. And then let's see who took the bronze medal. And it's the USA by about 6 centimetres from the Soviet Union. And there are the official results of the men's Cox 4 final. The German Democratic Republic crew was first in 6 minutes 19.04 seconds. Czechoslovakia second, 6 minutes 21.69. The USA third, 6 minutes 25.33, taking the bronze medal by 0.8 of a second. And the world champions in the Cox 4 for 1982, the German Democratic Republic. Thomas Greiner, Hans Sennewald, Ulrich Konz, Ulrich Diesner, the stroke, and the Cox, Andreas Gregor. The men's double sculls promises to be a great race. There are the 6 crews in the start. In lane 1, Poland. Lane 2, Finland. Lane 3 is Czechoslovakia. Lane 4, Canada. Lane 5, the East German crew. And in lane 6, Norway. The starters ready to send them away. And a fine start in the World Championship double sculls for 1982. There on the screen in lane 5 are the present world champions, the German Democratic Republic crew of Dreifke and Kröpelin. In lane 2 is the Finnish crew. They were the silver medalists last year. They're the Karppinen brothers, and one of them, Pertti Karppinen, is the Olympic champion in single sculls. And then in lane 6, surprisingly dropping a bit behind at this stage, is the Norwegian crew of Alf Hansen and Rolf Thorsen, who were bronze medalists last year. But Alf Hansen has to his credit 4 world championships from the 1970s when he rode in this event with his brother Frank. But out to a good start, and out of the picture at the moment is the German Democratic Republic crew of Dreifke and Kröpelin, who have moved way out in front of the field in the early stages. Coming up to the 500-metre mark, that's just a crew paddling down for the next race. But here we see the world champions, the German Democratic Republic crew, who are showing a clean pair of heels to the rest of the crews. They've gone through the 500 metres in a length and a half in front of the other crews. Then the next 4 crews of Poland, Finland, Czechoslovakia and Canada close together, and only Norway dropping back. 500-metre times, a very fast first 500 metres from the German Democratic Republic crew, 1 minute 30.98. That's the Norwegian crew who were expected to do well, but at this stage are sitting back in 6th position, 3.5 seconds behind the leaders. The young Canadian crew of Storn and McGowan are well up at this stage, with the Czechoslovakians, the Finns and the Polish crew over in lane 1. The Norwegian crew making a bit of a move in this second 500 metres. No doubt they're trying to row an even race and match each 500 with the other, leaving themselves enough time for a little bit of a spurt at the finish if they're going to make anything of this race. But they've got a fair margin to make up on this world champion East German crew. Joachim Dreifke in the stroke seat, a former world champion single sculler, and Klaus Kröpelin in the bow seat. And see the margin they've got. The Norwegians in lane 6 have moved up with the other 4 crews, so 5 crews crossing virtually together at the halfway mark, with the East German crew out in front of the rest. There are the Norwegians, Thorsen in the bow seat, Hansen in the stroke seat. They're making an impression now as they go into the third 500. The Canadians still well placed in lane 4, and the Czechoslovakians still up there in lane 3. Dropping back are the Karpinen brothers from Finland and the Polish crew in lane 1. The Czechoslovakians clearly in third place now. I think that the Norwegian crew in lane 6 have moved up into second position, and they're gaining on the East German crew. The margin at the 1,000 metres was about 1.5 lengths, but now the boats are overlapping. The bow of the Norwegian boat coming up level with the stern of the East German boat, but are the Norwegians going to be able to row them down in the closing stages of this race? A very smooth technique being displayed by these 2 smaller Norwegians, and each stroke they're moving closer to the East Germans. And at this stage, it's some distance back now to the Czechoslovakians in third place, then the Canadians in lane 4, and then the Polish moving just ahead of the Finnish crew in lanes 1 and 2. They're into the last 500 metres of this 2,000 metres race, and the Czechoslovakians now clearly holding down third position ahead of the Canadians. And going back to the leading crews now, and the Norwegians have ranged right up alongside the crew from East Germany. These 2 crews are now neck and neck. The Norwegians have moved right up. They were only 1.89 seconds behind with 500 metres to go. They're still sitting perhaps half to 3/4 of a length behind the East German crew. The East German crew in all white colours, second from the bottom of the screen, and the Norwegian crew in the very bottom of the screen. And the Norwegians throwing out a withering finish in the last 250 metres. Norway gaining on the East German crew in every stroke. Only about a canvas in it now, and the Norwegians are drawing level with the East German crew. East Germany holding about a metre. Norway moving up every stroke. A great finish from the Norwegian crew. And both crews neck and neck as they come down into the last 50 metres. In fact, the Norwegians have moved in front. Norway in the bottom of the picture have moved just ahead of the East German crew, and they've won the gold medal. Czechoslovakia in third place, then Canada. A mighty finishing 500 metres from the Norwegian crew to take out the World Championship for 1982 in the men's double sculls. What a magnificent finish. Norway going across a good 3/4 of a length ahead of the East German crew. When they got their bow in front of the East Germans could do nothing about it. And a length back behind the East Germans, Czechoslovakia takes 3rd place. There are the official results. Gold medal to Norway in 6 minutes 23.66 seconds. The German Democratic Republic crew was second, 6:25.36. Czechoslovakia third in 6:28.08. And Alf Hansen, the stroke of the Norwegian double, last won a World Championship in 1979. And the Norwegian double scull paddling in to collect their gold medals. And what a history there is behind this double scull. Alf Hansen in the stroke seat rode in the double scull with his brother Frank and won the World Championships in 1975, 76, 78 and 79. They didn't go to Moscow in 1980. Then last year, Alf Hansen, who's now 34 years of age, got together with young Ralph Thorson, who's 21 years of age, and formed a new double. They were bronze medalists last year, and this year the gold medal. World champions for 1982 in the double sculls, Norway. Rolf Thorson in the bow seat. And Alf Hansen in the stroke seat. This is the final day of the 1982 World Rowing Championships in Lucerne, Switzerland. The event in the starting block is the men's coxless pairs. The starters calling through the crews. In lane 1 is Holland, lane 2 the Soviet Union, lane 3 West Germany, lane 4 Spain, lane 5 East Germany, and lane 6 Norway. And the starters sent them away. A good start from all crews except for the Soviet Union crew in lane 2. They're the world champions, the Pimenov brothers from the Soviet Union, who were lucky to make this final. In their heat, they broke a rigger and just limped across the line to finish the race and thus qualified for the repechage. They got through the repechage to the semi-final, but only made it through to the final by 0.06 of a second yesterday. So the world champions, the Pimenovs, in lane 2 from the Soviet Union, not showing good form at this year's World Championship. There in lane 6 is the young Norwegian crew of Grepperud and Loken. They were second in their semi-final yesterday, behind the crew from East Germany in lane 5, Ertel and Sauerbrei, who have moved out in the first 200 metres of this final for the men's coxless pairs. In the gold, the Spanish crew in lane 4, and over in lane 1, the Dutch crew who won the other semi-final yesterday, Herkstra and Adema from Holland. But perhaps the favourites are the East German crew now in the picture, Ertel and Sauerbrei. Yesterday they won their semi-final in a blistering course record time of 6 minutes 32.63 seconds. In second place at the moment is the Dutch crew in lane 1 in the orange singlets, and Spain holding third place in lane 4. East Germany across first, then Spain, then Holland, then Norway. That's the 500-metre mark in this 2,000-metre course. And there are the times as they went through the 500 metres. The crew in the picture is East Germany leading at the moment. East East Germany dominated coxless pairs from 1974 to 1980 with the famous Landvoigt twins, who won every event in the coxless pairs up to the 1980 Olympics. They then retired, and the Pimenov brothers from the Soviet Union took over after them in winning the 1981 World Championships. There are the Pimenovs now in lane 2, not well placed after 500 metres, and dropping back also are the Grabov brothers from West Germany, presently in the picture. And coming back to the front of the field, we can see the wake of the East German boat in lane 5. That crew's moved out in front of the Norwegians, who are in lane 6, closest to the camera, holding third place, I think, behind the crew from Holland over in lane 1. But a reasonably awkward-looking East German crew who've moved out in front of the field. As we saw in some other races earlier, the East Germans tend to move out into the front of the field and hold on to their lead as long as they can, but their lead's only a small one ahead of the Dutch crew, and then the Norwegians in third place at the 1,000-metre mark, halfway in this 2,000-metre World Championship coxless pairs. The Norwegian crew in second place, about 3/4 of a length down on the East German crew. And it looks as if the Dutch crew went through the 1,000-metre mark at the same time as the East German crew. There are the Dutch at the top of the picture in lane 1. Dropping back, the Pimenovs of the Soviet Union in lane 2, the Spanish crew in lane 4, and the German Federal Republic crew in lane 3. That's the German Federal Republic crew, the Grabov brothers. Coming back again to the leaders. Holland in lane 1 are up with the leaders. East Germany still in front. That's the East Germans at the top of the picture there in the white singlets with the diagonal stripe. And the challenge is coming again in the third 500 metres of this course from the crew from Norway. Norway in lane 6, gaining on the East Germans every stroke. The East Germans moved out for the first 1,000 metres, but the Norwegians rowing an even race, even 500-metre times, and can they catch the East Germans? This is a new Norwegian crew of Grepperud and Loken. They didn't race in the World Championships last year, but have had some success in international regattas earlier in the season. It's also a young East German crew, and the Norwegians are gathering them in this second last 500 metres. Back to the Dutch in third place now, the Spanish in front of the reigning world champions, the Soviet Union. It's the Spanish crew in the gold singlets. Lane 3, dropping back, is the German Federal Republic crew. They're now into the last 500 metres of this course. And the race is between the two crews at the bottom of the picture. The East German crew in lane 5 still just in front of the Norwegian crew. They had 1.15 seconds margin over them at 500 metres to go. But the Norwegians moving up on the East German crew. There's Norway closest to the camera, moving right up alongside the East German crew. Good strong work from the Norwegians. The East Germans showing some tiredness, and the Norwegians have moved past the East German crew. The Norwegians now a metre or two ahead of the East German crew in the last 60 metres or so. And it could be the second gold medal for Norway in these championships. Grepperud and Loken have moved out ahead of the East German crew and are increasing their margin every stroke. In third place, the Dutch crew at the top of the picture, and then the Spaniards not far behind them in lane 4. But the Norwegians coming away to win the 1982 Coxless Pairs World Championship, just ahead of East Germany, Holland, Spain. Back then to the German Federal Republic and a disappointing crew from the Soviet Union, last year's world champions in 6th place. Well, a great win from Norway. This is the second gold medal for these championships. Norway won the double sculls earlier in the championships. And here we see Norway crossing the line, a good length and a quarter ahead of the East German crew. Half a length back to the Dutch crew. Then came the Spaniards. And West Germany and the Soviet Union. And there are the official results. The gold medal to Norway, Magnus Grepperud and Sverre Loken in 6 minutes 41.98 seconds. Second, the German Democratic Republic, 6 minutes 44.88. The bronze medal to Holland, 6 minutes 45.72. And a great moment for these young Norwegians, new on the international rowing scene. World champions for 1982 in uncoxed pairs, Norway. Magnus Grepperud and Sverre Loken. In the starters' hands now are the starters in the World Championship for single sculls 1982. In lane 1, Riker of East Germany. Lane 2, Biglow of the USA. Lane 3, Svensson of Sweden. Lane 4, Agricola of the Federal Republic of Germany. Lane 4, Iarchuka of the Soviet Union. And in lane 6, Bailey of Great Britain. And the starters sent them away. Bailey of Great Britain in lane 6, a former gold medalist in double sculls. Iakucha of the Soviet Union in lane 5, a strong contender in this year's title. The present world champion is Peter Michael Colby of West Germany, who's not competing this year. The silver medalist last year was the East German Riker. He's in lane 1. And last year's bronze medalist, Biglow of the USA, is in lane 2. And there we can see Riker in lane 1 has opened up a lead of about 3/4 of a length at this stage. Doing well also is the big West German in lane 4. That's Georg Agricola. And Bailey in lane 6 from Great Britain, dropping back. Well up also is Svensson, the Swede, in lane 3, and John Biglow of the USA in lane 2. But doing particularly well is Vasily Iakucha of the Soviet Union in lane 5. He's expected to throw out the challenge to Rüdiger Riker of East Germany in lane 1. A long, powerful stroker. His rate reasonably low, and there we can see Riker of East Germany in lane 1. All the scullers in this event using the new sliding rigger scull. The normal rowing action is where the seat moves and the rigger and feet are fixed, but here all the scullers using a new form of boat where the riggers and the feet move and the seat is fixed. Going through the 500-metre mark, the Soviet Union sculler Iakucha was through first, only just ahead though of the East German sculler, and Agricola from West Germany was in third position. That's Agricola in the centre of the screen now. Agricola in lane 4, and there are the two leaders. Only 0.08 of a second separated them at 500 metres, but now Riker in the white singlet at the top of the screen is applying some pressure to Iakucha, and Riker has moved out by about half a length over the Soviet Union sculler at the bottom of the screen. And there's a good view of the sliding rigger scull in the Soviet Union boat. The seat's fixed, but the rigger and the foot stretcher moves. Agricola of West Germany holding third place, just ahead of Bigelow of the USA in lane 2, and Hans Svensson, the big Swede, in the navy singlet in lane 3. Bigelow has an awkward style, but he's been a successful oarsman. He was third in the World Championships in single sculls last year. Coming up now to the 1,000-metre mark, that's halfway, and the East German sculler across half a length ahead of the Russian. Then came the USA, West Germany, Sweden, and Baillieu, a disappointing 6th place in lane 6. The British sculler dropping back behind the field. And there again we see Vasily Iakucha of the Soviet Union, presently in 2nd place. 1.52 seconds behind Riker of the German Democratic Republic as they went through the halfway mark. And going past the boating area with about 750 metres to go, at the top of the screen, just moving out of the picture, is the leader at this stage, Rüdiger Riker of East Germany. There's Agricola, presently in 3rd position, and Iakucha of the Soviet Union in 2nd position in lane 5. Pressure's on in this third 500 metres of the 2,000-metre race. Iakucha trying to bridge the gap that Riker opened up in the second 500 metres. You see him occasionally looking across his right shoulder to see his rival, Rüdiger Riker, over in lane 1. And there's Riker coming up to the 500-metre mark, 500 metres to go. Improving his position is John Bigelow of the USA in lane 2, and Agricola in lane 4, still not far behind the leaders. That's Agricola, and that's Chris Baillieu of Great Britain, who's been behind the field since the word go. He too using a sliding rigger scull, as can be seen in this picture. He's a long way behind the Soviet Union sculler, Iakucha, who in turn is about a second behind the East German sculler, who's over in lane 1. They're now coming in front of the crowd with about 150 metres to go in the World Championship for single sculls in 1982. And there were the positions at 500 metres to go. The American, John Bigelow, had moved up into 2nd place, and that's Bigelow, second from the top of the screen in the blue boat, holding down 2nd place, just ahead of the Soviet Union sculler at the bottom of the field. But the sculler in the white boat is the East German sculler, Rüdiger Riker, who was 2nd last year. He's about 2/3 of a length ahead of John Bigelow in lane 2. There's Bigelow's bow, moving up alongside of Riker, and right up there with Bigelow and challenging Riker is Iakucha of the Soviet Union at the bottom of the picture. They're into the last 100 metres now, and the race is on either side of the course. Riker at the top of the screen, Iakucha at the bottom, and Bigelow in lane 2, not far behind them. Coming up to the finish now, and it's Riker just ahead of Iakucha, then Bigelow of the USA, then some distance back to Agricola of West Germany, then comes Svensson of Sweden, and Baillieu of Great Britain. Here we have the finish again. Riker of East Germany in the white boat, about half a length ahead of the Soviet Union sculler Iakucha, a similar margin back to John Bigelow of the USA, and then the other 3 scullers some distance behind. official results. First, German Democratic Republic, 7 minutes and 0.67 of a second. Second, the Soviet Union, 7 minutes, 1.15 seconds. And third, the United States, 7 minutes, 2.08. And this giant of a man, Rüdiger Reicher, from the German Democratic Republic, over 2 meters tall and weighing 95 kilograms, coming in to collect his gold medal. He last won the World Championship for single sculls in 1977. He took the silver medal last year, and then this year in a great race beat the Soviet Union sculler by less than a second to take the gold medal. World champion single sculler of 1982, the German Democratic Republic, Rüdiger Reicher. And the crew's back in the starters' hands for the restart of the Cox Pairs final. East Germany, Soviet Union, Italy, USA, Czechoslovakia and Bulgaria. Soviet Union have been awarded one full start, another full start, and they're disqualified. And the crew's away nicely that time. The East Germans in lane 1, the Soviet Union still got a good start in lane 2, and so did the world champions, the Abagnale brothers from Italy, in lane 3. There are the Czechoslovakians in lane 5, and the fast-starting Bulgarians in lane 6. The three leading crews are in lanes 1, 2 and 3 at this stage. East Germany, Soviet Union and Italy, Bulgaria well up, and back then to Czechoslovakia and the United States. The Italian crew won this event in the World Championships last year. It was thought that that was a bit of a fluke win, but they've shown some good form here this year. They won their heat and they're well placed after 350 meters in the final of this event. But leading out is the Soviet Union crew of Kryuchkin and Perefazev. Not far behind them are the Abagnale brothers, Carmina and Giuseppe Abagnale of Italy in lane 3. And then these three crews already dropping back behind the pace of the crews in lanes 1, 2 and 3. This is the USA crew at the top of the screen, Czechoslovakia and Bulgaria. But out in front at this stage, the Soviet Union in the red singlets go through 500 meters first, then Italy, then East Germany, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia and the USA. That's 500 meters gone in this 2,000 meter race. This is the Cox Pairs, the cox of each crew lying down in the bow of the boat. You can just see his head behind the bowman's back. And that's the Soviet Union crew leading from Italy and the German Democratic Republic, and they were the margins after 500 meters. This is normally a boat for big men, big strong men. It's a slow-moving boat, but the Italian crew in lane 3, who are the world champions, are quite small for this class of boat. Short, but very solidly built. The Soviet Union pair presently in the picture, tall and rangy, and also very solid. And they've got half a length's lead after 700 meters. Back then to the new East German Cox pair of Seyfarth and Schmeling in lane 1. But there we have the world champions of 1981, Carmina and Giuseppe Abagnale. Moving up on the Soviet Union crew as they approach the halfway mark. In fact, the Italians just moving in front of the Soviet Union crew and just crossing the halfway mark about 3 or 4 inches ahead of the Soviet Union crew. Bulgaria is sitting in 3rd place ahead of the German Democratic Republic crew. Then came Czechoslovakia and the USA. That's the Bulgarian crew in the picture now, and Czechoslovakia dropping back into 5th place in lane 5. So the Italian crew going through the 1,000-metre mark, 0.08 of a second in front of the crew from the Soviet Union, and now they've moved out to about half a length. Perfect conditions here on the Rotsee in Lucerne. A tailwind of about 5 kilometres per hour and perfect rowing conditions. There are the Bulgarians holding 3rd place in this 3rd 500 of the race. Improving their position is the Czechoslovakian crew in lane 5 and the Italians in lane 3 in the blue colours, who've moved out by about 3/4 of a length ahead of the crew from East Germany in lane 1. The Russian crew in lane 2 dropping back slightly at this stage and being challenged by the Bulgarians for 3rd place. Germany moving right up alongside the crew from the Soviet Union, but the Italians have started to dominate this race and are moving ahead of the field with every stroke. There are the Czechoslovakians, who were well back at the halfway mark, improving their position and moving up alongside the East Germans and the Bulgarians. But the Italians now enjoying clear water over the rest of the field. Been doing altitude training at St. Moritz with the Norwegians and Swiss, all crews which are expected to do well at these World Championships, and the crowd has a number of Italians in it and getting quite excited to see the Italian World Champions moving out in front. And there, with 500 metres to go, they'd opened up a lead of 2.3 seconds ahead of the Soviet Union crew, then a further 3 seconds back to the crew from East Germany. And the Italians getting quite some support as they move in front of the crowd. And there's a good race on for 2nd and 3rd place. The East Germans moving past the Russians. The Russians have done too much too soon, and the East Germans have challenged them for 2nd place. But the Italians clearly in front. The Bulgarians still holding down perhaps 2nd or 3rd position over in lane 6, but fast finishing Czechoslovakian crew challenging them. The crowd's right behind the Italian crew, and a great performance. Last year was no fluke for this crew, and they're coming away to win the World Championship in 1982. Italy's Abagnale brothers out in front. The race is on for 2nd and 3rd. East Germany at the top of the screen, perhaps just in 2nd place ahead of the Czechoslovakians and Bulgarians. The Russians have faded in the second half of the course. There are the Italians across the line. East Germany 2nd, Czechoslovakia taking 3rd from Bulgaria. Then came the Soviet Union crew, and a long way back to the crew from the USA. But the gold medal for the 2nd year in a row to Carmina and Giuseppe Abagnale and Giuseppe Di Capua, the coxswain. And here we see them crossing the line. This is the replay. Italy across first, almost a length ahead of East Germany in the top of the screen. Then Czechoslovakia came through with a good finish to hold off the Bulgarians, who were 4th. And then the early leaders, the Soviet Union, dropping back to 5th place. And the official results: Italy first, 6 minutes 59.63 seconds. The German Democratic Republic second, 7:01.55 seconds. And Czechoslovakia third, 7 minutes 2.07 seconds. And the winning Italian crew rowing across to one of their officials on one of the landing stagings. What they're doing is they're getting an extra pair of trousers. Apparently, some of the officials thought that their rowing suits are a little bit immodest for the presentation ceremony, and so they have to cover up to get their gold medals. And the Italian crew, now appropriately dressed, coming in to collect their gold medals for their great win in the World Championships Cox Pairs 1982. An excited coxswain, Giuseppe Di Capua. Just yesterday, he coxed the Italian lightweight 8 to a great win, so 2 gold medals for him in one weekend. Champions of the world in Cox Pairs for 1982, Italy. Carmine Abbagnale and Giuseppe Abbagnale. And the coxswain, Giuseppe Di Capua. And the crews are in the starting blocks for the final of the coxless fours on the World Championship program for 1982. In Lane 1, Denmark, Lane 2, Romania, Lane 3, Switzerland, Lane 4, the Soviet Union, Lane 5, the German Democratic Republic, and Lane 6, Czechoslovakia. The Soviet Union are the world champions. And there's the start of the coxless fours. East Germany has dominated this event for many years, but the Soviet Union won last year. That's the Soviet Union world champion crew, intact from 1981 in Lane 4. And the East German crew, a new crew from East Germany in Lane 5, and over in Lane 2, in the red shorts and red singlets, is the local crew from Switzerland, who are great favourites for the crowd to win this event, and in fact they've beaten the Soviet Union crew earlier in the season. Switzerland and Soviet Union were the 2 heat winners in this event, and this promises to be a mighty race. Already the Soviet Union in Lane 4 have moved out ahead of the rest of the field, with Switzerland in 3 in second place, and also well up is the Czechoslovakian crew in Lane 6. Switzerland were the silver medalists behind the Soviet Union crew last year in the World Championships. Doing well also in Lane 2 is the Romanian crew, who have moved just ahead of Switzerland and Czechoslovakia at this stage. This Swiss crew, now in the centre of the screen, contains a bronze medal winning pair in the stroke and free seats, and a bronze medal winning double scull in the bow and 2 seats. And the Soviet Union goes through the 500 metre mark ahead of Czechoslovakia, Romania and Switzerland. The Soviet Union have opened up a margin of 1.65 seconds over Czechoslovakia, Romania just ahead of the Swiss crew, then back to the crew from the German Democratic Republic and the crew from Denmark. Romania sitting in second place ahead of the Swiss crew, a big strong Swiss crew averaging 95 kilos, a very small stroke man but 3 very big men behind him. Bow rows at 102 kilos. But the somewhat slighter Soviet Union crew have moved out some length and a bit over the Swiss crew and the crew from Romania in lanes 3 and 2. That's the Soviet Union crew, the reigning world champions, and Czechoslovakia's bow just coming into the picture. Supporters of the Swiss crew lining the 2,000 metre course, and Switzerland now moving into second place ahead of Romania and Czechoslovakia, but still 3/4 of a length to a length behind the Soviet Union at the halfway mark. There goes Switzerland through, then Czechoslovakia, Romania, German Democratic Republic and Denmark. That's the Czechoslovakian crew in the bottom of the picture and the Soviet Union crew in the center of the course in the top of the picture. Coming back now to the Swiss crew, 1.91 seconds behind the Soviet Union at the halfway mark. An enormously powerful Swiss crew. And you can just see the size of Bruno Seiler in the bow seat, 102 kilos. And they're edging up on the Soviet Union crew. Soviet Union still holding the lead. Czechoslovakia have dropped back, and it's Switzerland that are now only half a length behind the Soviet Union in the third 500 meters. And the Swiss crew approaching the Soviet Union crew with every stroke. You can see in that picture how they're moving up on the Soviet Union crew, stroke after stroke, and moving away from the Czechoslovakians and the Romanians in third and fourth places. These are uncoxed boats. The stroke man is doing the steering with his foot stretcher. A great amount of concentration needed to keep the boats correctly on course, and at the same time to throw out the challenge that Switzerland's now throwing out to the Soviet Union. And there's 500 meters to go, and Switzerland just sitting behind the Soviet Union. And an excited Swiss crowd calling Hauptschweiz to the Swiss crew, urging them on. The local favourites. There's been a lot of talk in Switzerland about this crew. And the Soviet Union might be tiring a little. Yes, only 0.3 of a second between the Soviet Union and Switzerland, and now Switzerland have moved in front. Switzerland is the crew, third from the top of the screen. There they are, furthest from the camera at this stage, and they've got their bow in front of the Soviet Union crew. And the Swiss crew rising to the occasion in front of the home crowd now, and again you can see them moving through the Soviet Union crew as they come into the last 200 meters. Still not much between them, but Switzerland sitting about 2 meters ahead of the Soviet Union crew and improving that margin. And a most excited crew as the Swiss crew comes away from the Soviet Union. In third place, maybe Czechoslovakia. Romania moving up in lane 2. Nothing between those two crews. But as the crowd can tell you, the Swiss crew are in front. And Switzerland crosses the line to take the World Championship from the Soviet Union, with Romania third, Czechoslovakia in fourth place. Then comes the Danish crew and the East Germans in last position. And here's a replay of the finish. The Swiss crew taking out this event by 3/4 of a length from the Soviet Union. A good finish by the Romanian crew to be only half a canvas behind the Soviet Union in third place. And then the Czechoslovakians taking fourth place. The official result, Switzerland reversing last year's result. Switzerland first, 6 minutes 10.41 seconds. The Soviet Union second, 6 minutes 11.82 seconds. And Romania third, 6 minutes 12.32 seconds. Bruno Seiler.
Bruno Seiler.
Jörg Weitnauer.
Hans Konrad Trümpler.
Hans Konrad Trümpler.
Hans Konrad Trümpler.
And Stefan Netzler. We've just seen that marvellous race where the Swiss crew won the Coxless Fours event, and in Australia at the moment is the bowman of that crew, Bruno Seiler. Bruno, you must have done a lot of training in the season leading up to the World Championships. What sort of training did you do?
We make 4 weeks altitude training in St. Moritz.
Yes. The 4 weeks in St. Moritz altitude training was just before the World Championships, was it?
Yes, this is before. This 1 week before we come down.
And before that, how many times a week were you training?
12 training each week.
12 times?
12 times, yes.
And were they all in the Cox's 4?
No, only 3 trainings in the 4, and the others 2 in weightlifting, and 2 or 3 cycling, and the others in the pair with Jörg right now.
And are you going to do any rowing whilst you're here in Australia?
I think not in Australia, maybe in New Zealand. Start the training in January.
Bruno Seiler, thank you very much. Now the major event on the World Championship program, the final for the men's 8s. 6 finalists in Lane 1 New Zealand, Lane 2 the Soviet Union, Lane 3 the German Democratic Republic, Lane 4 France, Lane 5 the German Federal Republic, and Lane 6 the USA. The starter has them ready. And the 6/8s are away. In 1981, the Soviet Union won this event, and they're in Lane 2. Great Britain were silver medalists. They didn't make the final this year. And New Zealand, they're in the picture, won their heat and are great favourites to win this event. Last year they surprised in not making the final of the World Championships after having a great history in the last decade in 8-oared rowing, and they're out for revenge, as are the East Germans in Lane 3 in the white singlets, who didn't get a medal in this event last year. Closest to the camera now is the United States crew, bronze medalists last year, and then next to them the crew from the Federal Republic of Germany. France surprised in Lane 4. In the heat they eliminated Great Britain, who were last year's silver medalists. But I fear that France might find the going a little bit too tough in this final. Now as they come down after 300 metres, the red singlets of the Russian crew moving to the front and taking with them the New Zealand crew as well over in Lane 1. Well up is the United States crew in Lane 6 after 500 metres, and the German Democratic Republic crew in Lane 3. 4 boats in a line as they come down after 600 metres in this World Championship final. The East German crew were through the 500 metres first, just ahead of the USA, then the Soviet Union, then New Zealand. East Germany have rowed all these races, all the races that they've won here at the World Championships this year by rowing from in front of the field. There's the United States crew, well placed, ahead of the Federal German Republic crew in Lane 5 and France in Lane 4. But the real race is on the other side, with the Soviet Union, the world champions, dropping back in Lane 2 behind New Zealand and the German Democratic Republic and USA right up with those other crews. They're coming down now through the 1,000 metre mark, halfway through this race, and not much between these crews at all. The USA goes through first, just ahead of New Zealand, East Germany, Soviet Union, West Germany and France. The USA crew rowing powerfully through the middle of this race. They were second in their heat earlier in the championships. The heat winners were the East Germans and the New Zealand crew. And New New Zealand moving now in front of the East German crew. New Zealand in the black singlets have moved up in the third 500. They're in front of the East German crew, but the USA hold 0.36 of a second over the New Zealanders at 1,000 metres. The Russians dropping back, as are the crews from West Germany and France. But New Zealand now throwing out the challenge that everybody has expected. New Zealand were gold medalists in 1971 and in the Olympics in 1972, have won medals in eight-oared rowing most of the years since then, but were disappointing last year. Now they're moving up alongside the USA, and I think the New Zealanders are moving into the lead of this race. New Zealand over in lane 1 have got the East German crew in lane 3 covered, and the United States crew are dropping back to the New Zealanders now. Coming up to the last 500 metres. And I think New Zealand going through the 500 metre mark ahead of the USA and East Germany. East Germany putting in a spurt to bridge the gap that New Zealand has opened up. And the Americans trying to hang in there. The Americans not terribly clean in their work, wasting some energy by not the best technique, but strong and very willing. They're still in this race for the gold medal in the eights. Looking across the field now, over in lane 1, New Zealand, enjoying support of the Swiss crowd, have moved out to half a length over the German Democratic Republic crew. There they were, 1.6 seconds ahead of the East German crew with 500 metres to go, and they're moving away. That's New Zealand at the top of the picture, East Germany in the white in the centre, and the USA at the bottom of the picture, and New Zealand sitting in a commanding position. They've moved through this field in the second and third 500 metres of the race, and they're moving away from East Germany and the United States. A great row by the New Zealanders, 3/4 of a length margin now, improving all the time as they go into the last 150 metres. And a great win coming up to New Zealand, taking out the World Championship in eights from the East German crew. The Soviet Union have got third from the USA, then back to West Germany and the crew from France. And that was the final race on the World Championship program for 1982, and a magnificent win to the crew from New Zealand. They didn't make the final last year, and they've come back with a real vengeance to take out the gold medal for the first time for 10 years in a magnificently judged race. And there are the official results. World champions for 1982, New Zealand, with a time of 5 minutes, 36.99 seconds. Second, the German Democratic Republic, 5:39.17. And third, the Soviet Union, 5:39.52. And there's the margin, 3/4 of a length between New Zealand and East Germany. A fast-finishing Russian crew taking the bronze medal from a fading USA crew who took fourth position, followed by the crew from the Federal Republic of Germany and France. World champions 1982
Nouvelle-Zélande.
in the eighth with Cox, New Zealand.
Anthony Brook.
Tony Brook. Les O'Connell. George Keyes.
Christopher White.
Chris White. Roger White Parsons.
Roger White Parsons.
David Roger.
David Roger. Andrew Andrew Stevenson.
Andrew Stevenson. And the stroke, Michael Stanley.
Michael Stanley.
And of course, the cox, Andrew Hay.
Andrew Hay.
And the coxswain about to receive his traditional dunking for winning the 8th race.
Well, that's one happy bunch of Kiwis there with that splendid win by almost a full length. And while we're still interested in the Down Under perspective of World Championships, coach of the Australian men's basketball team, Lindsay Gaze, was watching closely the outcome of the basketball match we have for you next. The Australians had had a good win over Canada and were to meet Spain next. Analysing the Spaniards against the Yugoslavs.